You're listening to the Packernet Podcast Network.
You ever hear of test driving a phone network? Well, US Cellular is letting you test drive their nationwide 5G for free. Try out US Cellular wherever you have spotty service, your commute to work, that one spot in your house where your service dips. It's as easy as doing a little beep boop pop boop pop with your phone. That's the buttons, that's the noise they make. Anyways, test drive US Cellular's nationwide 5G coverage for free for 30 days. Just download the Try Us app. US Cellular, built for us. Terms apply. Visit uscellular.com/tryus.
O que acende a sua vontade de começar algo? Tem uma faísca em você que te chama para empreender, investir, dar novos rumos para sua vida. E para todos os seus começos, você pode contar com Santander Select. Um banco mais pessoal, mais próximo, mais humano. Um time de especialistas com olhar atento para cada momento da sua vida. Porque você sabe, só quem já deu muitos passos está pronto para continuar começando. Santander Select. Começa em você, começa agora.
What's up, guys? Welcome into Packers Total Access. My name is Clayton. You can check us out on packernet.com. Find me on Twitter at Packers_access. You can email us, PackersTotalAccess@gmail.com. You can text us 865-658-5824. Join alongside Emilio in Tennessee, Mr. Milwaukee himself back there, Milwaukee Tools, walking billboard. We got Jacob live in Wisconsin joining us this evening as well. Gentlemen, how was your day today? I know, Jacob, give me a weather update in Wisconsin, man. Is it still hotter than a $2 pistol, or is it cooling down up a little bit?
I mean, right now, currently, it's not bad at all. It's well, I shouldn't say that. It's 80 degrees and it's about to rain. But besides that, it's going to cool down to no, it's not. We have just 89 to 90 degrees for the next week straight. So, but it's sunny.
Yeah. Me and Emilio got a break today. I'm sure it was much hotter down there where he was at today than up here, but we were sitting most of the day at about 76 and we had about 20-mile-an-hour breeze, bro. It was beautiful. It felt like fall.
Yeah, it was nice. The clouds were a blessing today for sure. Next week, not so much, but.
Is that because you don't want to get too tan, Emilio?
No, I don't. Doesn't matter. I can be out in the sun. I'm all right. I'm just saying I enjoy a nice cooler day where I'm not pouring out sweat a little bit, you know.
So Angus McHaggis in the chat already says, I'm ready for some non-YouTube approved content and wondering how many cats Emilio has. Well, we're not going to be doing non-approved YouTube content tonight. Emilio literally at 7:58 my time, right, says, so yeah, we breaking down the Bears game tonight. I was going, crap, we were supposed to do that. So we're not going to do that tonight. We'll do it tomorrow. Okay. How about that? But we do have some topics we're going to hit on. I got a text from a listener asking about some conceptual stuff as far as, talking X's and O's. We're going to hit on that. I've also got a redraft article I wanted to hit on that was really cool. And then I know, Jacob, you sent me an article too on an intriguing veteran linebacker, right?
Yeah, I actually found 3 other articles saying that exact same thing from different – they all kind of reference the same guy that supposedly brought it up. And anyways, I just thought it was kind of fun.
Yeah, so we'll definitely hit on that, so you be prepared for it. But I'll tell you what, if you're preparing yourself for the upcoming Packers season, you need to go over – so a couple of different things here that I wanted to hit on real quick. I had a message from a listener that was asking – you guys remember the other night, it might have been last night. All the nights are kind of blurring together, but I think it might have been last night where I was talking about how, some of the more, some of the favorite concepts that Matt LaFleur likes to run, like one being slot cross, the other being dagger. And we kind of drawn them out on the grease board before, on our little application we got talking X's and O's with Chalk Talk and stuff. And I talked about how when you go to a trip set, you can really attack multiple areas on the field, and you can kind of implement 2 different passing concepts. So when you hear us say a passing concept, that is, basically it's a route combination. It's a concept of the entire play where you're attacking certain parts of the field based off what you may or may not think the defense is going to call, right? When you talk route combination, you're simply tying two or more routes together to make a combination. Therefore, you're able to attack, in most cases, 4 different spots on the field, right, per per 2 routes, if you will. So the Packers like to stay in a lot of 2x2 sets, but they also like to run a lot of tray. They like to run a lot of trips. They'll run bunch and bunch nasty from time to time. So what we're going to do is just kind of diagram that out and show you guys and gals what we were talking about. Sometimes it's better to draw it out rather than try to explain it. But also, you're going to hear us talk about the names of routes. And the old school way of identifying a route is through the old numerical system. Now, this is old East Coast ball here. They used to call out the play based off of the routes by numbers on the route tree. Now, as you guys may or may not know, the routes have become way more complex in today's game. So there's going to be routes that are not on this original route tree that you got to call out by name or by route combination / passing concept, if that makes sense. So with the tree we got here, if you were to, let's say you were going to run a 2x2 set, meaning two receivers / tight ends, whatever, on one side of the ball, 2 on the other. And let's say you wanted to run a go route, you wanted to run a dig, and then on the opposite side, you wanted to run an out route and you wanted to run a curl, okay? So you would go from left to right in the play call. So I can't even remember what I just said right now, but I'm going to try to. So a 9 is attached to a fade. An 8 is a post. A 7 is a corner. A 5 is an out. The dig is a 6. The comeback is a 3, which the comeback is basically the same thing as a curl. You just break outside as opposed to in. The 4 is the curl. The 1 is the flat or a quick out, and then the 2 is a slant. Now, you may find multiple route trees that have these a little bit different in depth. Some may have a few extra routes on the route tree that's just specified by name, but this is kind of the golden goose, the old school route tree, if you will. All right, so if you were going to call out the play and you were going to go, with the old school numerical system, and it was a fade, a dig, and an out and a curl, then you would literally call it 96-54 would be the play. Okay. So you would go, whatever, let's say 11 gun, let's say gun 11 gun dubs, right? Which is a 2x2 set, 11 gun dubs. And you would say 95-64, 96-54. Then they know from left to right, those are the routes that are attached to that specific play. Now you can go and even a level further outside of the specific names around these routes on the route tree and the more advanced routes in today's game and add in choice routes. In most cases, more times than not, there are choice routes attached to every play call as well. Meaning if the DB does this, you break it off here. If the DB does that, you break it off there. It's a lot more complex than just the old school, back to your 70s and 80s style of running the offense. Now,
to that tree though, Clayton, with Hafley, I think he's gonna. I know you were saying there, there's choice routes added into it, but Hafley's also going to kind of break it down for the DB's perspective. Hey, you're outside corner here, and he makes one break. He's breaking him to a 5. You only have a comeback or a corner option left. Once you open your hip to an outside route, you only have a couple options from there. So just, narrowing down the possibilities as the play develops to try to make it easier on that secondary.
Absolutely. And it kind of goes hand in hand with what Belichick used to say, do your job. Just focus on the 2 or 3 things that you're responsible for. And every week you go into a game plan and you've watched the last 4 game saturation, your last 2 head-to-head matchups against that specific offense or defense, and you know the way they like to attack opponents. Then you can say, okay, look, when they're in a trip set, when they're in a 2x set, when they're in a nasty split, when they got the T flexed out and he's the boundary receiver, they like to run these 3 concepts. Then if someone's on their A game and they remember the film study all week, then they'll know, okay, the 2 most likely routes are this and this. So let me put myself in a position to sugar them and make them think I'm out of position and be ready to drive on those routes if they're both outbreakers or what have you. So it's why we get so frustrated. I know I get frustrated. I don't want to speak for everyone. It's why I get so frustrated when I hear people just very vanilla, drunk as a skunk on Sunday going, I can't believe it. It's like bro, it's way deeper than that. It's so much deeper than that, So this is what's cool too. Check this out, Jacob. We just showed you the receiver route tree, right? And again, some route trees are a little bit different in their attitude. Look at the running back route tree. Imagine being a running back and you got to know what all this means.
Yeah. Yep. I was going to say, where's the reel? Where's the swing? Where's the flat? Where's the shoot? All that kind of stuff. And kind of touch on what Emilio just said too. Wasn't that kind of Hafley's his basic MO when he came in, he goes, I want to break this down maybe into a literal, that old school route tree where I want to simplify it to the most basic things as possible, where Emilio said, depending on what you're asked to do in a certain drop in coverage or a certain way you're taking an angle into dropping into coverage, these are the 3 options they're going to have, or, spread out to 3 to 5 routes that they're going to run. This is where you can be in position to make sure that you don't get got on this one, and this one. And I think that Hafley, like Emilio again just talked about, it's slowing it down. Maybe the terminology for berries was just maybe a little bit too much for guys like Valentine and Ballantyne to really get themselves in position. Like you talked about, what if it's as easy as breaking it down to it's, instead of saying it's a dig, it's a, whatever it was, a 3 or a 4. Like it's simple as just saying, hey, know that your assignment is this when you do this. If this, then that kind of thing. And I think that's maybe what he can hopefully instill into this young first year defense.
Absolutely. And when you're playing zone match as opposed to spot drop, with spot drop, from a defensive perspective, it's simply your responsibility is hook curl. Your responsibility is curl flat. Your responsibility is deep third, deep quarter, whatever it is, deep half. But you, like Coach Haddad said, when we need to get him back on the show too. He's just an awesome asset to the show. Being his whole family, just generations of coaching experience. And he talked about with spot drop, one of the most difficult things it is to coach in spot drop to players, especially young players, is grass has never gained a first down or scored a point in the history of the game. Players do. So just because you're in spot drop doesn't mean you just sit in this little area. You're looking to pick up the nearest player that's coming in your zone and pass him off, right? Now, what, like he said, was zone. That's what was so frustrating about Quay Walker last year when we watched the tape. It's like he would, at times, they'd be playing spot drop. He'd drop back, and there'd be nobody within 8 yards of him. He's not looking for work, right? It's one thing if you're looking for a backside dig and you want to make sure you're fading back far enough to cover that dig if indeed they try to hammer over the top. But it's another thing when you're just keying in on the 2 wide receiver set side as opposed to the 3, knowing damn well you're supposed to cover a middle hook zone, in the middle of the field. You should be looking for work on the 3, the side with 3 targets as opposed to 2. And it's just, you got to get comfortable with that stuff. So now with zone match, it's if and then, like you said, Jacob, meaning the assignment is if he does this, then I do that. If the number 2 wide receiver, and when we say number 2, you number the receivers from outside in on each side of the ball. The one closest to the sideline, farthest from the ball is the number 1, then the number 2, then the number 3 if it applies. Same thing on the opposite side. So if you're playing zone match and you're the Spurs safety and it's zone match and your responsibility is if and then the number 2 goes vert, then you've got a cutoff area, meaning once they break the 7 yard, it's usually at 7 yards. Some of them it might be 10, some of it might be 12. Once they break that threshold and they're vertical downfield and they're still your nearest target, then that now becomes man coverage, right? Mm-hmm. And that's why some people get crossed up and they think they're running man when they're actually running zone match and vice versa. So that's the whole zone match. That's what makes zone match so effective is if the defense at pre-snap doesn't even know who they're covering, how is the offense going to predict it, right? Because you can run different match stop. You could say, okay, the if and then on this specific zone match is if the number 2 attacks the flat, if and then he goes to the flat, you attack him there. And then the next call could be if and then the number 2 goes vertical once he breaks a 7 yard threshold, then you match him there, right? So that's the problem is if some defenders can't pick it up, and I'm not trying to be mean here, but if they're not smart enough to pick it up, then
I was just going to say, it's not even necessarily if they're smart, but it's if their reaction time matches what their body can do. You know what I'm saying? Like, to me, when you have to do that, the match man, especially like anytime it's diagnosing what you're trying to do and you have the possibility of having to actually, like you talked about, man up on a guy once he goes past whatever your line marker is. And I just think there's a lot of people that in this league can't process that at the speed it takes to actually make a difference in that defense.
Mm-hmm. Awareness is key.
Yeah, absolutely. What's Ron Sandoval talking about here? Got company, Clayton.
Got a little Lincoln's talking down there. Lincoln and that.
Lincoln.
We're all having a conversation.
Yeah, gotcha. Okay, yeah, he's chattering down there. He said, "Listen, buddy,
he's got pterodactyl inside."
He said, "We're not going to be running near as much zone match this year. Stop wasting your time talking." Okay, the berry system is over. Okay, get over it. So that's what Lincoln was just saying. But all right, so let's do this. Let's kind of talk about what we're 15 minutes in. We haven't even hit on what the listener asked me, but essentially they were asking what we meant by the passing concepts here, right? So I'm just going to kind of lay this out. We'll go full screen for a second. So these are two concepts that Matt LaFleur absolutely loves. He loves running slot cross and he loves running dagger. So obviously on the left side here, this is slot cross. With slot cross, the number 1 runs a dig. See, this is the 1, this is the 2. Obviously, you see the offensive line set up. So the outside receiver is the 1, the inside is the 2. So with slot cross, the 1 runs a dig, and the 2, in this case, is the slot. Now, it could be on the Y side, and they could run slot cross. Just because it says slot cross doesn't mean the slot is running a crosser. It's just the concept itself. It could be the Y and the T, right? And you could have the actual slot receiver on the opposite side of the field and still run this passing concept, okay? The slot is, or the number 2 is going to run a crosser or a climb. And there's a lot of choice to that too, depending on the leverage of the corner. Mm-hmm. They may flatten it off a little more like a drag and stay underneath. They may really climb this thing up, throw a little outside move and then climb it up, right? But the goal is to clear out with the slot crosser, with the crosser itself. You're looking to clear out. You're going to have 2 windows off the first break and then the backside as he clears. The beautiful thing about the crosser and the slant is it's both man and zone beaters. It runs through zone and away from man, right? That's why it's one of my favorite routes, to be honest.
Right. Nice 2-window look.
Bingo. Yeah. So what happens is if that slot crosser, if it does clear out, then you can hit 2 windows on the dig. As soon as you come out of the break, hammer the dig right here, and then you can hammer it on the backside too if they're sitting in a spot drop once it clears. Because this guy might snug up just enough that you can hammer that pass in on that first window on the dig, right? So that is slot cross. That's what that concept is.
Can I ask you a question on that, Clayton?
Yeah.
Is it beneficial, or do you think that Matt LaFleur sometimes schemes those breaks like you talk about? How's there's the initial window, and then there's maybe if you let the play drag on a little bit. And in the cases where you let the play drags, when the play drags on a little bit, that obviously would mean that you need to have a more trusted offensive line of the pass protection, I would assume. So do you think Jordan Love, knowing how, because again, rewatching some of the tape, it was amazing, one, how quick some of his releases were, and also how easily adapting he was to just slightly move up in the pocket and find somebody maybe on that second window break, seeing them stretch across the field, going past a linebacker, past a safety, whatever the case may be. Do you think LaFleur tries to pinpoint him to make quicker reads, or does he give him that option where if you don't make that first read, you have a longer kind of dragging route that's coming across a different zone that maybe you can look back to? Is that kind of how he develops that?
There's absolutely such thing as a third window. It's just coaches don't go into the game plan room. And Coach Lynn, just let me know if you disagree. I can't imagine they go into the coach room and go, all right, and not that you're saying this, Jacob, but hopefully this answers your question. Like, I don't think they go into the coach room going, all right, man, here's the thing. If this, and ain't there, then you hit that third window. They're anticipating the ball to come out, under 3 seconds for the most part, right? Now, what we seen last year was Jordan Love extending the play and breaking the pocket and breaking tackles within the pocket. And doing that little hop step back like you've seen Aaron Rodgers do so many times, and step up, roll right, like slide right, that creates that third window, right? Mm-hmm. Or the Jaden Reed touchdown, I can't remember what team it was against, but in the back corner of the end zone, that was just an absolute dart on the run at Lambeau Field. I can't remember what game it was. That was one of if not his best, his best throws all year long. That was one of those where he extended the play. And that's another thing about slot cross, or about a crossing route, is they continue to run across the field, and they can end up going high or low through that third window, depending on what the defense is doing too. But I don't think it's by design, Jacob, but when you got a quarterback that can extend the play, and that's why when they talk about traits, quarterback traits, and why they're valued so much in the NFL, and how you can take a three-star recruit quarterback out of college who only got one scholarship to Utah State, right? And he ends up going in the first round. Why did he go in the first round? Because they seen those physical traits. Now, is he going to put it together? When you've seen him put it together the second half of the season, hold up, you might have an MVP candidate, right? Because these are things that Sam Darnold can't do, right? These are things, even though Sam Darnold was taken in the top 5, these are things he couldn't do. Those are the physical traits you're looking for in a quarterback. So,
and to that third window, that also could end up being just a scramble drill. After so long, you got to just break off and have that connection with your quarterback, which I think a lot of the young guys do.
Yep,
Well,
absolutely.
That's what I was kind of just wondering, as I didn't want to. So, like, when he pats the ball after 6 seconds and he goes to his fifth read, that was designed, right? It's like, no, but it is crazy that Jordan Love has that ability. And
Right.
yeah.
Yep.
Absolutely, man. Coach Lynn said, I see them getting back to wrap concept this season also. I meant to draw up wrap on this little exercise too, Coach, and I dropped the ball. I ended up going with Wolf and Smash because they ran a lot of Wolf last year. But you're right. In 2022, they loved wrap. They love the wrap concept. Maybe if we got time, I'll just draw it up manually here on the fly here in a second and show you how you can insert those two concepts as well. So, yeah, you're spot on there, though, with wrap. I'm going to keep that mark, Jacob, that comment, so I can come back to it maybe as a reminder. So now when we're talking about dagger on the opposite side that you see right here, right, what dagger is the one runs a dig and the two runs a go route or a non-route. Again, remember, we just talked about the tree. We call it a fly, a go, right? That's kind of the nickname for that route. But if you were to go to the route tree, that's just called a non-route. Okay. And the dig, right? We're talking about the dig, that's a 6. So now obviously the crosser isn't on this route tree. So if you tried to go old school, what you would probably say is you would say, like seeing that X is the dig route. So that'd be a 6. You don't have a number for the slot, but you do have one for the Y on the fade. So that'd be a 9. And then the Z would be a dig as well. So you would call it 696 slot cross.
My son started collecting football cards. I had no idea what the heck I was doing. So I went out and bought him one of those binders you put all the cards in and all that kind of stuff. Turns out card collecting has come a long way since when I was a kid, and that's what people did. Now there is a new way to buy, sell, and trade cards. It's called Arena Club. Whether you're buying, selling, trading, or displaying, Arena Club is the all-in-one trading card platform that you have to sign up for. Over at arenaclub.com/packdaddy. We actually did a whole YouTube video about this. I would encourage you to check it out. It is a fantastic website. You can, as I said, you can buy, trade, sell, but also you can display all of your cards right there on the platform. It gives you all of the grading. They'll even grade your cards. Their grading combines AI as well as human grading to get the most accurate grading of all your cards. And right now, you can get 10% off your first purchase by going to arenaclub.com/packdaddy. That's arenaclub.com/packdaddy for 10% off your first purchase. You ever hear of test driving a phone network? Well, US Cellular is letting you test drive their nationwide 5G for free. Try out US Cellular wherever you have spotty service. Your commute to work, that one spot in your house where your service dips. It's as easy as doing a little beep boop pop boop pop with your phone. That's the buttons. That's the noise they make. Anyways, test drive US Cellular's nationwide 5G coverage for free for 30 days. Just download the Try Us app. US Cellular, built for us. Terms apply. Visit uscellular.com/try us. Passion, drive, and patience. The formula for winning championships is also what keeps your ride or die alive. eBay Motors has everything you need to maintain your vehicle and level it up to peak performance. Superchargers, roof racks, exhaust kits, LED headlights, and more. Whether you're into speed, power, or style, eBay Motors has you covered. With over 122 million parts for your number one ride or die, you'll always find exactly what you're looking for. And with eBay Guaranteed Fit, your part is guaranteed to fit your ride every time or your money back. Because with eBay Motors, you're burning rubber, not cash. With the parts you need at the prices you want, it's easy to make your car the MVP and bring home huge wins. Keep your ride or die alive at ebaymotors.com. Eligible items only, exclusions apply.
Precisa ferir a pressão, medir a glicemia ou tomar uma vacina? Na Drogasil tem exames, testes e calendário vacinal completo. E o que é melhor, tem sempre uma Drogasil aí perto de você. É fácil, prático e rápido. Dá para ir entre uma música e outra. Procure nossos farmacêuticos. Quanto mais você conhece o que a gente faz na Drogasil, mais você se cuida.
That makes sense.
Yeah.
Or slot climb might be the better way, because everybody uses slot cross as a passing concept. That can get a little bit confusing. So that's how the old school name would be. But if we were to come out and call this in today's terminology, you would say slot cross dagger, right? So in this case, it would be 11 ace Y flex, right? 11 ace Y flex, strong right. Or you go strong right, 11 ace, Y flex, slot cross, dagger, and then whatever the T's assignment is, whether it's safe, staying in a blocking, or some kind of leak, if you will. So, but anyway, as we get back to what we were talking about, Dagger is the number 2 going vertical and the number 1 with the deep breaking dig. So what you see here, what's the commonality between those two passing concepts right there? It's that both of them have the number 1 on the dig, right? So if you go to a trip set or even a bunch set, I think it would work better out of a trips or a tray. Let's say we slid the Y over here. Look at what you've got now. What you have is dagger. You've got your dig with your number 1 dig with your number 2 go, and you still got the slot. So you've still got slot cross, but you've also got dagger on the same side of the field. Does that make sense?
Yep.
Love that.
So that's where when you run trip sets with the Packers, love to run trip sets. I love running out of dubs and then passing out of trips. That's just me personally. And then once you start to burn their keister over and over and over in trips, and they start to shade, put a little shade, a little safety over the top, a little bracket coverage, and give some help on that side, then you set yourself up to go inside zone, opposite side of the field, right? Everything's setting everything up. So again, just wanted to point out that's how you can take 2 different passing concepts and take 2 different route combinations and passing concepts, and you could turn it into essentially a combination concept, if you want to call it that, where you can go, okay, you can apply 2 different passing concepts or route combinations on one side of the ball.
I was going to ask, is that kind of what Rodgers and Adams did for basically like the last 3 to 4 or 5 years of their career, where they'd kind of have a concept and then they just kind of play Devontae around and just use him as like almost that Madden choice route? And because they had such a good rapport that he'd basically just kind of sift into whatever seam that he wanted to. And Rodgers and Hibbs had such a good connection that they could just make it work. Like, is that an accurate way of describing that connection?
The last 2 years, really, probably the last 3 years that Tay was there, Tay had full control over what
it was almost nonverbal, wasn't it? Like they'd look at each other.
Aaron said it on the McAfee show, and this is where I know many people like to hate on Aaron because they disagree with his political stances and all this other stuff. And not everyone, I gotta stop saying that. Many people just wanted to blame Aaron Rodgers for everything. Like, he's just trying to control the offense. He's not running what LaFleur wants to run and this and that. It wasn't the case. It came out that Tay had full freedom to run whatever route he wanted to run. So he's reading the defense no matter what spot he's lined up in. So Rodgers knows, and there's choice routes attached to other players as well. That's why Rodgers was so frustrated in 2022, was because they kept screwing up the choice routes because they were young receivers. There were 2 rookie receivers, Dobbs and Watson, trying to figure out how to play wide receiver at the NFL level. I know people don't want to hear that, and don't take it from the dumb redneck. Hall of Fame quarterback, first ballot Hall of Fame quarterback, Kurt Warner, said it every single week on his quarterback breakdowns, going, that is not where you run that choice route. They were screwing it up. And Rodgers, you'd see Rodgers gesturing to him like, what do you do? Because they were mixed up. And everybody's like, Rodgers is selfish. He's blaming everybody else. And when he wouldn't throw to an open receiver, he's refusing to throw to that receiver. That's BS. He didn't throw to that receiver because that receiver wasn't supposed to be there. And you would hear, I hate using the word casual fans, but you would hear some fans say, well, he's open, throw it anyway. That you can't play football like that. You can't play football going, okay, I'm going to assume he's going to run where it's open. You've got to read the DB, and believe it or not, the wide receivers are giving keys at the NFL level. They're giving keys to the quarterback with certain moves of their shoulder. That's something that Cooper Kupp and Matthew Stafford do so well, to tip off the quarterback without tipping off the DB. I'm going to actually run this route. So this is what I'm reading. So it's almost like a quick baseball signal. Like you see a catcher giving a signal by Cooper Kupp dipping his inside shoulder out just a touch. That's letting Matthew Stafford, he's actually going to run a specific route. And that's how they read it from a choice standpoint. But Rodgers said that Tay would run whatever he wanted to run. And LaFleur was good with it because how could you argue with it? Look how effective it was, right? Now, another thing he did say one time, I don't mean to be long-winded, but he said that they ran a passing play to the end zone, and it was some kind of a little shake fade, if I remember correctly. And Rodgers threw it and it fell incomplete. And he said, man, it just came off my finger just a touch off, right? And it was inaccurate. He said Davante Adams came back to the huddle, looked right at Aaron Rodgers in front of everybody in the huddle and said, run the same play, and this time throw a good ball, is what he said to Rodgers. Now think about that, and think about how the narrative has been painted that Aaron Rodgers is just this absolute ass, that he is just all over, and it's his way or no way. And Rodgers said the look in his eye was like, let's go. That's how true competitors react when the bullets are flying. You're in there. It's like you want that dude to come to you with confidence and go, I can win this. Let's do that again. And this time you hold up your end of the deal there, MVP, right? Because true competitors, when you're in, Bill Belichick said it about Parcells a long time ago. He said, when you're in the heat of the battle, you give orders and you take orders. There's no time to argue about it. There's no time to get your feelings hurt. It's, hey, look, we're all trying to figure this out together. And whoever the leader is, you step up and you lead. Hey, this is where we're going with it. We're doing this. Go. Everybody shut up and do your job. That's why all of his teammates would laugh when the media would paint him out to be this bad guy, because that's in the heat of the battle. There's no feelings. Leave your feelings at home, man. Right? We're trying to win a ball game. So I love that story, man. When I heard it, I was like, holy cow. Tay coming back to Aaron Rodgers and going, run it again. This time, throw a good ball. It's like, that is awesome.
Absolutely great.
Yeah. Anything y'all want to add to that when we're talking about slot cross or dagger, or did it spark anything else that you guys wanted to talk about here before we move on to the next concept?
No, I just think that Matt is gonna, take this and run with it this year, right? We have a wide receiver crew that we can also kind of do a hockey line change with. Let them run these routes 100%, get them gassed, get the next line in there, and just keep rotating them because the corners aren't coming off and the safeties aren't coming off. So
yeah, the other thing too is like there's this false narrative. I want to mention this before we move on. There's this false narrative like we finally ran Matt LaFleur's offense last year, and I'm like, I can't remember who said, I was listening to a pod or something, and somebody had made a comment that you're finally running Matt LaFleur's offense. This is what happens. And it's like, bro, are you trying to convince me that you were happy the first half of the season last year? Like, it was ugly, right? Now, what changed in the second half of the season? I'll tell you what changed. Jordan Love started changing the protection, and he started changing the plays at the line of scrimmage. We showed you against the Vikings, against Invert 2. We showed you against the Cowboys in the playoff game, where he completely changed the play up and hit Dontavian Wicks over top of, whatever his name is, Stephon Gilmore, right? What changed in the second half is Jordan Love the game slowed down, and guess what he started doing? He started changing the play at the line of scrimmage just like Aaron did that pissed people off for so long. This is a good thing. This isn't a bad thing. It's just when you lose and you lose bad in the playoffs, all of a sudden it's the quarterback spot. It's why they get paid the most money. They get way more credit than they deserve, and they get way more, blame than they deserve. That makes sense. So, all right, let's move on to the next concept here. Let me drop this one down, and I got another one right here that I just want to hit on briefly. And again, if I can remember to hit on it here in a minute, we'll hit on rap like Coach Lynn was talking about. So, right here, you've got two different concepts. One's called Wolf, and the other's called Smash. Okay, so every time I hear smash, I want to go smash, smash, smash. Have you guys ever seen the hitchhiker, Kyle, the hatchet wielding hitchhiker? Y'all ever heard of that story where he saved that chick's life?
I don't think so.
Oh my God, bro.
Nope.
Look up the hatchet wielding hitchhiker. Now, that dude, evidently someone was acting crazy at a crime scene, and he literally hit the dude over the head with a hatchet and saved this girl's life. There's a TV interview with him. Every time I hear smash, I can hear him saying smash, smash, smash. So I know it's kind of random, right? But I've got to pull that soundbite for you guys. That's awesome. So Wolf is the number one running an out route. And again, the depth, some people would disagree with these depths. Usually it's about a 10-yard out. I made it about an 8-yard out here simply because you're running a corner over top of it with the 2. So the number 1 is an out. The number 2 is a corner route. That's called Wolf, okay? If you hop to the other side of the field, you've got smash. The number 2 is running a corner, and the number 1 is running a curl, okay? So which one of these routes is the same on both sides? It's the corner. It's the number 2 corner, right? So what you could do in a trip set is you could take this Z and put him over here. It wouldn't be called a Z anymore. And look what you got all of a sudden. You've got smash and you've got wolf on the same side of the field. Now, the first thing I think of here when I see this tight trip set and you running an out with a sit and a corner over top of it, I immediately think that's a zone beater because there's no way they can cover all of these zones unless they're cheating heavy to that side. And if they are, you're going to have a heck of a mismatch and potentially a running play out the back end of this. Yeah. But does that make sense there, Emilio, Jacob, how you could take, like I said, you could take Wolf and Smash, simply go to a trip set and have your number 2 run a curl, and now you've got both Wolf and Smash on the same side of the field.
Yeah, exactly. Go ahead, Jacob.
No, I was just going to say, to me, too, it makes more sense now as I see these concepts and you add in the wrinkle of any kind of motion whatsoever, and it makes defenses just, wet in their pants. And we haven't even talked about, the tailback coming out or doing any kind of stretch play or anything like that. So, I mean, it really is fun to see. If you're Matt LaFleur, I mean, he must just actually get kind of excited when he writes these plays. Like, I'll never forget. I don't know what you would call Clayton, and I don't remember who we were doing it against, where Jordan Love did like a 3 or 4 step drop back, faked like he was going to go a wheel right to the left, faked he was going to do a wheel route to the left, and then he hit Musgrave down the seam. When I was just like, who thought of that? That was like, it was just fun. You know what I mean? And you could tell that's a guy that's in the playbook that literally he's like, what else can I do? Like, how else can I make this not, necessarily the traditional X's and O's? And I just think that's Matt LaFleur's biggest attribute as an offensive play caller.
Right. Yeah. And Jordan Love understanding the offense and growing as a quarterback has allowed Matt to have that option. Like Clayton was saying before he made that audible, he wouldn't have brought over, the Z to beat the zone coverage, by overloading one side. Now that he has that, let's hammer it. Let's call up this play, just to beat this defense in that instant.
Yep,
yeah, absolutely. I think Cake said it was a Rams game. And if I'm not mistaken, it was actually a play action fake to Jones, fake to the wheel route left, and then hit freaking Musgrave down the seam for a touchdown. I was just like, what?
That's awesome. So that was, if I remember correctly, it was a double swing pump, and it was a Y-flex leak. He may have been attached. So essentially what you were doing is faking the swing to one side, faking the swing to the other, while you had receivers on the outside running routes as well. And Musgrave set up. See, you guys remember me talking about T-swing, lead T-swing all year long? And it was where they were putting a receiver or a tight end, and in some cases, if they were in the pony package, A.J. Dillon out front, to where all he was looking to do was block. And they were looking to swing that out on a lead swing. Now, the problem was they ran it the majority of the time in the first half of the season, and Jordan Love was playing so far behind schedule. There was multiple times it's like, you've got the hat count, throw the T swing, throw the lead swing. But he never got to it. Later on in the season, he finally did get to it a time or two. One of those was a huge passing play to A.J. Dillon down the sideline when Aaron Jones was actually hurt. But in that particular play, you're running that all year long. You're showing that lead swing, and then you come out and it looks like the Y's staying safe. So you fake swing past the one side, turn around completely 180 degrees, fake to the other. The defense freezes the linebackers. In one case, it made one linebacker overbite to the play side. The other linebacker had to freeze because he was faking like he was coming back to the backside tee. And then all of a sudden, bang, it's a leak down the middle. And it was so cool too. There's nothing sexy about it, but Musgrave beat the safety with his foot speed to the end zone too. Like, you could tell the safety really underestimated Musgrave's speed there. Pretty cool, man. So let me try to draw this up on the fly.
While you're drawing that up, Clayton, the big thing is getting the ball in the hands of your playmakers, right? The reason why Matt drew something up was, dude, get it out of Love's hand. He can only, dish a rock so many times. I was just pulling up his numbers. Completed air yards was 2,184 from last year. Yards after catch, 1,975. I mean, almost split down the middle, from catching the ball just in a spot and then versus getting the ball down the field after you get it in your hands. We saw it with Tucker Kraft running, Musgrave, Jaden Reed, everybody's doing it. So I think he's going to keep that going, right? Get it out of your hands. Let the players play.
Yeah, and that's the thing, man. People don't want to hear it. Certain fans don't want. I didn't want to hear it forever. When I heard think player not play, I'm going, BS. You got to structure it in a way, because I was Mr. Control Freak. Hey, look, let's just scheme people open constantly. No, man, the game is so tightly contested at the NFL level. You've got to have players win their one-on-one matchups. Period. So when you're talking about wrap concept, this is what Coach Lynn was talking about. We ran a bunch of wrap in 2022 where the number 2, and forget the Z and the Y and the positioning. I just did this real quick. The number 2, who is the Z in this case, runs a curl, and the number 1 on that side runs a dig on the outside of it, right? And you're forcing a conflict with the defender that's probably going to be right here in this area, right? He's got to – if you got a guy playing like Spurs safety and he's down here in the box, right, and the ball snapped and he's looking – let's say it's a zone match and he's looking for this guy to potentially go vertical and he starts to cheat over and that guy clamps down, okay, I'm just going to clamp down on him, and then you completely leave this dig open. You know what I'm saying? So that's what we were talking about with wrap in that regard. Now, if you were to try to throw another concept in there with it, with that inside curl, you've got Haas as well. Okay. And I'm trying to remember what Haas is. Give me just a second. I'll pull that back up because I actually had the.
That's funny. I was literally trying to flip through my. I grabbed my Pat Kerwin taker off the ball 2.0, and I was like, let me see if I can find some more of these concepts that Clayton likes here. Haas was definitely one of them. There's a couple others. I couldn't find the exact page, but I was just going to really do you got it, Clayton?
Keep going. You're good, man. I'm looking.
No, I just Coach Hahn, or I'm sorry, Coach Len, always dropping some heaters out here. He was asking, has anybody watched the show Receiver on Netflix? It's really good. Apparently, it's basically the same thing as the quarterback series that Clayton was telling everybody to watch, even though I hated those quarterbacks. But it sounds like it is pretty cool. Isn't it like George Kittle and Jefferson and I think maybe Jamar Chase and some other guys? That'd be one of those I definitely would want to watch. But anyways, go on.
So basically what we're going to do here is what we call Haas. And boy, I'm still trying to get used to this. Give me just a second here. With Haas, it's real simple. The inside, the number 2, right, he runs a go, and the number 1 will actually run a curl, okay? So if we go on this side of the field, right, to a little curl route, that's what you call Haas. The number 1, I want to double check it, make sure I'm right here. I'm almost positive. Yeah, the number 2 runs a go or a non-route. The number 1 runs a curl, okay? So now if you look on this side of the field, right, let me get back to where you guys can see what I'm looking at here. Make sure you can see my cursor. Okay, so on this side of the field, that receiver is drunk. Do you see that guy? On this
going
side
home.
Scramble drill.
On this side of the field, you've got wrap. On this side, you've got what should be Haas. Okay, so let me change that real quick so we don't get tied up here. And again, I wanted to hit on this. I'm so glad that Coach Hahn pulled it up or brung it up. Haas, you got the number 2 on a go, the number 1 on a curl. Okay, wrap, you got the number 2 on a curl, and you've got the number 1 on a dig. So what you can do is you can go to a trip set, bring this guy over, and look what you got. You've got Haas between the 3 and the 2, and then between the 2 and the 1, you've got wrap. So you're accomplishing both concepts on one side of the field. And again, that's the complexity that you can kind of interject into the game plan when you go trips as opposed to just dubs. Now, again, there's choice routes involved with this. Depending on what the DBs do, that curl might go from an 8-yard to a 10-yard, which pushes the dig to a 12, and everybody's going to be on the same page. How many times did we see it, Jacob, especially 2 years ago, when our receivers in 2022, Aaron's last year, the receivers led the league in drops, and Hall of Famer Kurt Warner was saying these guys don't have a damn clue what they're doing with these choice routes because they were running into each other. How many times did we see 2 targets in the same area? It's like, yeah, that's not supposed to be designed like that. So,
no.
Again, so that's another great example there.
Is it a crazy thing to say that like you see these kind of unbalanced and unmatched looks? It's almost like what we talked about last night with the defensive line with the Jets and Salah and how he does that overmatched one-sided front that just looks so abnormal. That you're like, you don't really understand how that's going to work. But then you realize that once the play kind of plays out, you're like, oh, that's exactly why they did that. And it just seems like one of those weird, unbalanced looks that you don't quite think is going to be that beneficial. But also, am I crazy? Like I grew up thinking that what you guys call a curl route, my dad, every single coach I had called it a button hook. Did you guys never hear that?
Button hook, yeah.
Bro,
that was mine, dude. It was button hook all the time. So that's all
there
I
was
hear.
so button hook sounds like something you try to do at the club on Saturday.
Hey, now.
No, but there's all kinds of different nicknames, and over the years, it's kind of evolved, right? You know, all the way back to, if you go back to the Lombardi days, you hear flanker, and you know, like there's so many terms that doesn't get used in today's game, and the game is constantly evolving and changing. You know, that's what I get frustrated with is when people just try to sound cool. They start making up their own stuff. And it's like, we already have a name for that. But that's the egos that come with some of the coaches, you know. And look, that ego gets a player to the top level. Ego gets a coach to the top level, right? You can't be good at your craft and not have somewhat of an ego. You've got to be extremely confident in your ability to coach and or play, right? You've got to. So I understand it comes with the territory. It's just, I'm such a choleric. I'm choleric melancholy. That's my two dominant personality traits. Choleric is, this crap should have been done yesterday, right? Type approach. And melancholy is it, but it's got to be done absolutely perfect. It's got to be done to the T. No, that's not what we call it. Shut up. It needs to be organized. I'm a basket case is what it comes down to. So when I hear people loosely, you know, and again, Coach Lincoln attests to this, there's stuff that I'm saying right now that he goes, no, we call it this, we call it that. That's why you hear when someone enters a new system, it's the same system, but different terminology, because every coach is different, right? They intentionally change stuff up because they don't want other people to catch on. You know, Matt LaFleur talks about it's simplistic at its core, but it has the
illusion of complexity.
Bingo. It's the same thing in anything, man. Like you try to make things look and sound more complex than they are to keep your opponents, you know, off tilt. So
I always remember the famous clip of Brett Favre asking what nickel is. Well, I mean, take out a linebacker and put in another D-back. Yeah. Well, I don't just say that.
My favorite. He said, "Who the hell cares?"
I was watching those mic'd up moments, and there was one where he was talking. He goes, "All these offensive linemen making these calls, man. I don't even know what they're talking about."
Yeah. Coach Lynn said, "Yep, it's different everywhere." Yeah, and that's I could speak to 5 different coaches, and that's one thing that every coach agrees on is, yep, terminology is different everywhere you go. So. Bill says, Clayton, your self-reflection is great. I don't know if that's a compliment or not, but I guarantee you my wife is like, my husband's a basket case. So don't encourage anything that he may or may not say about himself on here. But if it is a compliment, thank you, Bill. I'm just too ignorant to pick up on whether it's a compliment or an insult. Omer says, I used to think Clayton really liked me until he offered to send me a Josiah Gora jersey last year. LOL.
I got one you can have right now, buddy. I'll send it to you in the mail.
Discount.
I was going to say, are you ever going to send that one out, Jake? Are you going to give that away?
My cat likes it, so it's going to stay.
Yeah, that's a good scratch and post.
Oh,
that's hilarious, man. Absolutely. Thank you, Bill. Bill said it was a compliment. Thank you, sir. I appreciate it, man. See, too ignorant to pick up on the compliment. But yeah, there you go. Angus McGay, I need to subscribe to Mandy's newsletter. Boy, I tell you what, that would sell. I guarantee.
Daily email updates.
Or it would just be called like the trash. Did it get taken out? Did it not? We'll see.
I'm telling you, man. And when I come down those steps and she's got that look in her, I'm going, trash. I know.
Mm-hmm.
Trash. Emilio, you've seen the driveway, man. It's a haul, bro.
That's a haul. I would have strapped it to the mower at some point and just drove it down. At that,
it's like Green Mile. Walking the mile, I'll take the trash down.
Teach Lincoln to drag that thing out there.
Yo, I watched the Green Mile, just a random segue, the other day. I wasn't ready for that.
Bro.
It is heart-wrenching. I forgot. It took a – like, I'm pretty sure every time I watch the Green Mile, I lose a year, whereas that guy gains years.
The mouse, when the mouse gets stomped, it's like, what are we – and then, sorry, spoiler alert, if anybody hasn't seen this 20-year-old movie.
It's 20-year-olds.
But also – I don't know what tore me up more, that or just the look in his eye when he said, "I'm tired, boss." You know what I mean? It's just
like literally to the like. It is just Or the push it with me, do a dance, let's do them squishing in his pants. I was like, it's so funny. It'd make you funny, and then it'd crush your heart.
Mia, you heard that talk at the funeral, didn't you, bro? You got to sit next to Dad,
dude. He was letting it rip.
I'm telling you, man. There was someone else that said it. I can't remember who it was, came up to me and was like, "Hey, I got to meet your dad." And I'm like, "Oh, that's awesome." He's like, "Didn't understand 2 words he said, but I got to."
It took me a sec. After a little bit, I started picking up. You kind of get in the zone there, but
yeah. And what that is, that whole accent, and it's real big in the Appalachian, is it was from Irish settlers coming into the Appalachian Mountains. So it's got an Irish root. And you ever heard an Irishman talk, especially they get a couple of drinks in them? It's just, like, so you get that accompanied with just uneducated folks like we all are from the sticks. And that's where you get the Appalachian accent. Right. So that's what happens. But yeah. Yeah, there you go. Handy Monday. Jacob just went Sling Blade for a second there.
Dude, I used to be able to do
I'm out here mumbling about
blade.
mustard and biscuits, right? Mustard and biscuits. I dug me out a hole to lay down in back there.
Some folks call it a Sling Blade, some folks call it a Kaiser Blade.
That was pretty good. That was pretty good. All right. Anything? Yeah, there you go. Clayton, is your dad Boomhauser in the flesh? No, Boonhauser looks like a constitutional scholar compared to Papa. Does he not, Amelia?
Well, I got. Oh yeah.
Let's don't go too deep. All right, it'll be all right.
Constitutional scholar.
Emilio got his doso, Pops. Man, Pops he's 100% authentic. That's all I'll say. All right. Do we got anything else we want to hit on? I didn't. Yeah, there you go. Angus knew it was going.
That's so true. So I'm glad he got it. I'm glad he got it early before the 50-minute mark. Yeah, that's a good drop, Angus.
Where's Tim?
He is working, man.
Tim is taking care of business right now. He got an important project.
Tim realized that we're in the dumpster dives of the summer, and he goes, "I don't want to be a part of this." He goes, "I have future plans."
How about we do that?
Oh, looky here.
Yeah. How exciting is that picture right there, Jacob?
We are almost there, man. What's crazy is the 17th is actually the day that the rookies report, right?
That's what, Friday?
Yeah. So, yeah, it's literally next Friday. That's going to be awesome. Whatever day it is, it doesn't even matter. It's here is all I know.
It's crazy.
So, I'm so excited about it, man. Anything else you boys want to hit on? And I'm sorry, I keep forgetting we're on the pod. Jacob or Emilio just pulled up a training camp schedule, so just showing that the 22nd is obviously when the full team reports.
12 days.
Well, not reports, but that's their first practice, right? So
10:30 a.m.
Yeah, 10:30 a.m. practice. Man, we're going to get those. Everybody's going to be at work on a Monday, and you're going to be getting those tweets buzzing your phone like crazy from all the beat reporters giving updates.
And don't the rookies report even earlier?
Yeah, 17th. Yeah.
Okay, so in a week, the rookies will be there. In 12 days, we're going to have practice.
Yeah. There you go.
Right, cool. One real quick thing, Clayton, if you don't mind.
Yeah, man.
There was a couple different. I hate calling them clickbaity because they're just they pay for articles and people like the content. But there was 3 different articles. They did all source the same, I guess, original source, but they said that the Green Bay Packers are interested or should be interested in signing veteran linebacker Quan Alexander. And it's not that I have any problem with Quan Alexander other than the fact that I think he only had 1 season, maybe in 2022, where he actually played 17 games. Other than that, he's had a fairly riddled injury type career. But when he is on the field, there are times where he has showed that dude can play some darn good football. And I just start thinking, is that one of those positions where you guys would be okay with bringing some? Hey, Coach Lynn says, nah, no way. So that's what I wanted to get some feedback, because we've talked about that linebacker position. Obviously want Cooper, want Quay. We got Wilson, we got McDuffie. After that, I don't quite know if I'm loyal as I should be, but would you want to have any sort of type of a linebacker, I guess a veteran type of guy like that?
When you look at the linebacker room, and I had the depth chart up here for the longest time. I don't think we got the graphic now. I need to get it back up here. I'm kind of feeling like, it wouldn't hurt. The biggest thing is whose place is he going to take, right? Whose roster spot is he going to take? That's the big thing. I'll just drop this down because there's really no reason to have it up. We're not going to read the article. I'm going to go over real quick to ESPN. Emilio, give me your take on that. How do you feel about bringing one in? I'm going to pull up the depth chart as you're talking to. We'll see what the linebacker room exactly looks like.
Where did Alexander play?
I think last he played at maybe Pittsburgh. I know he's been maybe 3 or 4 different teams over his career. I think he was at Seattle, a couple places.
Just because, I mean, I would be okay with it if it was if it was going to be a difference maker. But right now, I think unless we get a couple, I mean, because we're going to have cuts coming up once training camp's over, you're going to have a flood of people coming in, there. So we're obviously Goody's going to be taking a look. He's going to be peeking around. If there's somebody that's going to make the team better, he's going to put him on the team. And
I forgot about Hopper, dude. Hooper.
Right.
I forgot about Christian Young. I forgot about, dude, Keyshawn Banks. I feel like, could. And even guys like Mosby and Welch were playing. And then my guy, Raylan Goforth, I forgot he's got a great beard. You know what? Right. Never mind. Quan Alexander can't be on this
He's
team.
not allowed.
I love it. So, let's start with the end in mind, right? Last year when we broke camp, we had 26 defensive players. All right, and inside linebacker, keep in mind, inside linebackers will be all of our linebackers this year, okay? Outside linebackers last year kind of consisted of our edge defenders, and then defensive line were our interior defensive tackles. Mm-hmm. So we only broke camp with 5 linebackers. Now, keep in mind, going from a 34 to a 4-3, you're going to need to carry at least 1 extra, possibly 2 extra linebackers to make out that base 43, although we are going to be in the nickel 4-2-5 the majority of the time. So if we broke camp with 5 last year, I feel very comfortable saying there's a good chance we break camp with 6 this year, okay? So if the number is 6, and now we go back to the current depth chart, let's count off what 6 are slam dunks. Quay Walker, Edgerrin Cooper, Isaiah McDuffie, I think we would all agree those are slam dunks. Tyron Hopper, they're not going to want to waste that draft pick as a fairly high draft pick considering, right? So that's 4. Eric Wilson, I think, is just absolutely – he's in there. That's 5. So next would be Christian Young, Keyshawn Banks, Christian Welch, Aaron Mosby, and Raylan Goforth, right? Or Goforth, however you say his name. So out of those players, now the question becomes, would you rather have Quan Alexander or one of those players? I think I would rather have someone with extensive linebacking experience at the NFL level. Did you find him in PFF by chance, Emilio?
No, I'm not seeing him. I was trying to pull it up.
I'll go look for him right now. But you guys talk about this depth chart for a second. Again, keep in mind, if we had to keep 6, I think we got the 5 slam dunks. And here's the thing, too. It's not fun to talk about this time of year, but the reality is there's a good chance that any of these positions, injuries are going to kind of creep in there, right? But go ahead. I'll try to see if I can find Quan.
Well, and that's what Prince is saying here. He goes, Big Nickel says that we already have linebackers already and maybe some depth there. Same thing about with Coach Len saying he's like, he's not going to beat out Hooper. And, I like you talked about, I want to say that there was times where Quan Alexander was a splash player and he actually, I think there was one season where he had 13.5 sacks, if I'm not mistaken. I think I read that in one of the blurbs there. But I don't see Goody. We still do have some money though, don't we? Like we're sitting on some money that we haven't really explored.
Yeah, we do, but you've also got a thing. I want to say it was like to the tune of $30 million under the cap, but there's a lot of stuff that's still kind of
Jordan
uncertain.
Love, wide receivers. Yeah,
that's the big thing. That you're going to eat through that pretty quickly there. So we kind of talked about the linebackers. I'm going to pull Quan Alexander's. Actually, let me just snapshot it. That would be easier if it'll hit pretty easy here. Give me just a second.
And real quick, just so we're killing time there, Coach Glenn also said thoughts on bringing back Bakhtiari. I don't have thoughts on that. But Omar says he just read a story saying that the Bears are interested in Bach, and he threw up a little bit in his mouth. I hope that that's not true. I would. I don't know. I don't think the Bears would be that stupid to try and spend that much money. I don't think Bach would go there, to be honest. I really don't. But
if they pay him if they pay him like number 1 tackle, I think he would. I think he would go to Germany and play. You know what I mean? If they play the number 1 tackle money. For me, for the right price, absolutely, I'd love to have him back, personally. If he's healthy, it would have to be something that it's like incentive-based and, hey, look, you get nothing guaranteed. We'll pay you like the top tackle in the game if you play every game. But if you don't, then we're not on the hook for anything. I would be okay with that. But, yeah, it's I just don't see it happen. I kind of feel like that ship has sailed. But when you look at Quan Alexander here are his career PFF grades starting in 2015. And these are defensive grades. We're not going to get specific about – we could talk about what he does well, which is obviously coverage, which is a good thing in a 4-3, right? You're not looking to blitz, especially with the Robert Saleh approach. If we do – I've got to put emphasis on the fact that we're not saying Jeff Hafley is going to run Robert Saleh's defense. We're simply saying it is the top candidate for the type of defense that we think he'll probably run because he's from that coaching tree, if you will. So he started his career in Tampa, he being Quan Alexander, and he went on to San Francisco, New Orleans, the Jets, and Pittsburgh. Here are his defensive grades, overall defensive grades starting in 2015.
Played for some great defenses. Just
41.4, 68.9, 65.5, 57.4, 61.3, 58.6, 53.9, 63.0, and then 59.2. So he did play for Robert Saleh in 2022, and that was his, fourth best grade. So that is worth mentioning. But coverage is obviously what he's best at. His best coverage year was all the way back in 2019 for San Francisco, which would have been Robert Saleh, right? 81.3 was his coverage grade that year. His last year in Pittsburgh, he did have 362 total snaps, and his coverage grade was 74.4. His pass rush grade was 81.0, which Pittsburgh likes to run a lot of 34-zone blitz. You wouldn't be doing as much of that under a solid top defense. Run defense was just absolute cheeks at 30.3, tackle grade 39.5. So that's what drug his defensive grade down. So he is a pass coverage linebacker, is essentially
a stack backer for sure. I was trying to see, he is very seldomly on the line.
Yeah. So there you go. Now, if he has been injured a bunch there. Like I said, if we look at the snap count, 2020, this just started 2020, 668 snaps, 535 snaps, 558, and then dipped to 362. Before that, it was 357, 366. So he was very injury riddled there in 2018 and 2019. Obviously, it was probably what kind of derailed his career a touch. But again, the question becomes, Quan Alexander, great cover. I don't want to say great, a good cover linebacker, right? And that's about all he does good. We got to mention that. Would you rather have him over Christian Welch, Christian Young, Keyshawn Banks, Aaron Mosby, or Raylan Goforth? I would be okay with it because you're getting a little bit of veteran, presence there. Would I be like, hey, look, yeah, we definitely need to do this? I don't feel, very strong either way. But as far as if you're only going to carry 5, there's no way I would take him over Eric Wilson, Tyron Hopper. Obviously, they're not going to do that because it's a draft pick. It really would come down to Eric Wilson, and I'm not willing to give up Eric Wilson. Eric Wilson is low-key one of my favorite Packers, man.
Yeah, he's awesome.
Yeah. Well, him recovering that fumble,
dude, and
how he plays on special teams, bro. Yeah, it's so bittersweet because that should have been the play that we're going. He saved the game. So I hate bringing it up, but it's so true, man. It really is. All right, let's get out of here. The show sucks. There, we said it the second time. All right. All right. You guys got anything else, fellas? Anything else? I appreciate you bringing up that article, Jake, because that is, we need to keep our finger on the pulse because Goody's probably going to make a signing or two. I think he will. Yeah, I've got to ask this. You guys wrap up. Tell me, parting thoughts. I've got to see if Rudy Ford signed anywhere.
I was going to ask that, honestly. Yesterday, I didn't want to sound like an idiot, but I was like, what happened to Rudy Ford? Did he just float away into the middle of the ocean and nobody knew what happened? Like,
bro,
but Omer,
I just searched Rudy Ford and it said people also ask what happened to Rudy Ford. That was the first question. Oh my God. Go ahead.
Nothing. Omer, you guys know that I've been the biggest supporter of Bullard. I really liked what I saw to Cooper, but and he says specifically, I'll tell you what I saw of Bullard and Cooper in their college tape. Once those guys get you in their grasp, it's over. I'm telling you, they got that alligator grab, spin, drag you down in the
stick
mud.
them on their hands.
Yeah, that's right.
Sure.
Like hot hands. Remember Little Giants? Hot hands. Come on, hands! Don't let me down.
Go ahead, Emilio. Anything else, bro?
Nothing. I'm really ready for the season to start. I can't believe it's only 12 days away for at least training camp to get rolling. Then we can start seeing positions where people are placed. How do they look moving a sled around? So it's going to be a good time.
Bro, if I'm looking at this correctly, I'm seeing nothing where he signed. So Rudy Ford is still a free agent. There's
going to be such a flood after cuts. There's going to be an absolute flood of people in the market when they cut down the roster of 40 people, right?
The most recent article I seen was March 22nd, 2024. So obviously this offseason says it's by Packers Wire. It says re-signing safety Rudy Ford makes a ton of sense for the Packers. I don't think anybody signed him. So I know we said we were going to wrap up, but I actually dropped the ESPN depth chart down already. There it is. Hold on a minute. Bang. If we were to bring him in, right, just to add some depth to the safety room. Because again, I don't think anybody's arguing that Rudy played pretty darn good. He was arguably our best safety the last couple of years, right? If we were to look at how things fell into place with the final 53 here, defense 26, safety, we carried 5 last year. So let's go and look at the depth chart here. Who are our 5 safeties that we broke camp with the same amount? Javon Bullard, Xavier McKinney, Evan Williams, Katano Ladapo. That's 4. Anthony Johnson Jr. would be 5.
So, Zane's making interceptions all over OTAs.
That's a good point. That's a very good point. If it came down to Anthony Johnson Jr., we're at an hour and we're coming up with new topics. I swear. Last question for you guys: Anthony Johnson Jr. or Rudy Ford? Who would you rather have?
Ooh,
I know what my answer is because
I know Tim will kill us if he heard us, but I'd go Rudy Ford. But I know
Tim is remodeling a house right now.
Tim probably he just put on the Braveheart makeup and just shaved his head. And he goes, "I'm going back."
I might need to back Tim up on this one and take AJJ.
Okay.
I was watching. I think that they have that communication, the understanding back there. I think he's got enough skills to make it happen. And a little bit younger, we picked him up. I think they had faith in him to begin with. So I think I'll go with AJJ on that one.
Got it. All right.
Boy.
Somebody mentioned Zane is great on special teams. Is that right? Let me see if I can pull that up real quick. I didn't think he was great, but I could be completely wrong.
Ben Holden said that he is great on special teams. There's man, all of a sudden we just sparked a whole new, let's go another half an hour, guys. Let's just talk about would-be safeties.
So all I'm showing on Zane Anderson from last year was the only significant snaps he had. Now, in 2022 with Kansas City, yes, he played quite a bit, right? I believe. Let's see if we can go special teams. I've got this. Give me just a second here. I got to know. I won't be able to sleep tonight. Yeah, so special teams great. 2021 60.3, 2022 51.7, and then Green Bay last year 54.1. When you look at the special teams grades, like starting from week 9 on, he pretty much played, right, for the Packers. Here were special teams grades: 69.6, 70.4, 62.5, 30.3, 67.7, 56.5, 59.2, 55.3, 39.6, and then a 70.8. So I wouldn't classify him as a great special teamer, but and I know whoever said it, they were asking, right? They wasn't saying he was; they were just simply asking. I wouldn't mind to see Rudy Ford be brought back into camp, and if Anthony Johnson Jr. beats him out, great. If Rudy Ford beats Anthony Johnson Jr. out, put him on the practice squad. Yep. You can do it that way. So,
yeah. But
I know Emilio's just I'm not going to have Tim pissed at me when he gets back. So. All right, let's get out of here, guys. I appreciate y'all, man. We went way over. Thank y'all so much for hanging out with us. This was a lot of fun. We'll be back tomorrow night, 7 p.m. Central Time for another PTA. Tomorrow, remind me tomorrow, guys, when you get up in the morning, text me and go, "Hey, we're breaking down the Bears tape tomorrow."
Yeah, please. I want to.
Yeah, because I spent this time drawing these plays up and stuff. And I'm like, man, if I just wasted an hour of my life.
You know what? I'll just text Mandy. We'll get that thing squared away real quick.
That's how you get stuff done in this house. You just tell me. You get stuff. I promise you. So, anyway, we'll see you guys tomorrow night. Thank y'all so much for hanging out with us in chat. We really
our man Bates. We got to say it.
Yeah. Bates messaged me. Bates is awesome. We got giveaways coming up, I promise. We got the funerals behind me now. I'm going to get organized. We're going to rattle off some giveaways. But United Bates just donated 2 Take Your Eye Off the Ball 2.0 books, okay, that we're going to give away to Patreon members. There you go. It's unbelievable book, man. It is, to me, it's for every football fan, and you just want to learn, like, I want basic training for football. That's the book. That is the book, I'm telling you. So what we're going to do is, in our Patreon group, along with the picture of, like I said, the great quarterbacks, Aaron Rodgers, Bart Starr, and Brett Favre together in that picture. We're going to give that away soon, and then we'll give away those 2 books. So anyone who's a Patreon member, what we're going to do is put you guys on the wheel, the pinky wheel. We'll spin it. Wherever it lands on, we'll do those giveaways. So, take your eye off the ball. It'll be a great one to give away.
Also, I'm going to be giving away my Josiah DeGuara jersey. Some people say it's huge.
We just lost 3 Patreon members. I'm out. I'll re-up next month.
Yeah.
I appreciate you, fellas, and thank you for reminding me of that, Emilio, again. So, all right, we're out of here. For those of you listening on the pod, thank you for making us a part of your day. We'll see y'all tomorrow night. As always, let's go out and be the change we want to see in the world, and go Packers.